Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Real Results Show, where we feature real health coaches and health practitioners getting real health results for their clients and themselves. As always, I'm your host, Brendan Vermeyer. I'm a clinical advisor for FDN, and I'm also the director of our Tribe's Awesome Association, where we get to support the community with ongoing education regarding a variety of clinical and business building topics. We want to create the best health coaches, the best practitioners that have the best knowledge on how to build a successful health coaching practice, as well as having all the book smart, all the clinical knowledge in the world to help clients navigate those hidden stressors causing their metabolic chaos. So this week, I'm very excited to have my brother, Chris Wilson, on the show, and we have some great information. So for those of you guys that can't stick around towards the end of the episode, totally understand, but be sure to type TEST, T-E-S-T, all one word, caps, into the chat box, and you can actually get a 3-step guide for real results for free. So be sure to check that out. But Chris, welcome to the show, my friend.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Been looking forward to this, so ought to be a fun one.
Absolutely, I agree. You know, we had a little bit of tech issues last week for anybody that maybe was tuning in. So, you know, we navigated some tech issues. We got past the Cancer full moon, which wrecked my reality. So now we should be good to go. So the topic of the day, we're going to be talking about environmental suicide by lifestyle. So, Chris, I'd love to hear in your own words, you know, what's that mean to you? And what do you mean when you say environmental suicide by lifestyle? Very provoking title.
Yeah, indeed it is. And, you know, it's more so about being aware of the environment that we're actually in every day. I believe a statistic I read was as of the year 1900 to present day, we've been introduced to more than, I think, 3 million chemicals in our environment. And so what we see is really just diseases occurring at younger and younger ages, whereas something that used to take something to develop or, you know, manifest itself in your 60s and 70s, which still is the case, sure, but we're seeing it now develop in our children. And it's just kind of eye-opening when you take a step back and try to look at the bigger picture of today's modern healthcare system, which is more so a sick care system. And it completely contradicts the paradigm of what they're trying to do by supplying people with life jackets, or I should say pharmaceutical pills that really don't do anything but further exacerbate the problem. And that's really disease care and symptom relief. It's not true health care. And that's what I love about the thought process, the methodology, and the philosophy here behind FDN.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, absolutely, and I'll respectfully challenge you a little bit on certainly not all, you know, drugs are going to exacerbate a condition, and there's definitely a time and place that, you know, sometimes we need that emergency intervention. We need those drugs and surgery, and that's where, you know, I like to give a respectful nod to conventional healthcare, because really the majority of the science that we know, you open a biomedical or biochemical textbook or whatnot, and it never ceases to blow my mind how much we know about the human body. And the majority of that science was really funded by research by big pharma. But as what you're alluding to is really where, okay, we're in this chronic disease epidemic. You know, we are prescribing more pills than ever before. I looked up some crazy statistics lately, looking at, it was, I'm going to kind of butcher it, but it was like the average prescription usage per year per capita was like 12 prescriptions per year. And you look at the statistics of 70% of the American population is overweight or obese. Almost 50% of the American population is pre-diabetic or diabetic, and 1 in 6 Americans are on some kind of antidepressant drug. So my point being, clearly we are very metabolically disturbed, and we're unhealthy and we're unhappy. And this is where the functional health revolution is really starting to gain more traction, because people are tired of going to the doctor and hearing, oh, everything looks normal, there's nothing wrong with you, here's a pill to make you feel better. And so this is where then people turn to the functional modality so we can get to that root cause, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I agree. And to kind of back or piggyback on what you said about functional medicine, or excuse me, conventional medicine, that they've done a great job at extending the longevity of helping us live longer. But I think where they failed is having us live happier in that latter end of our life or our age. And yeah, I mean, full credit to them, because I do believe that most doctors out there have a sincere, genuine, like, what am I trying to say? A genuine sincerity of wanting to really help people.
Totally.
And, it just seems that what they're doing isn't really working. And then, like you say, people go to the doctor and they get sent to another doctor and then sent to another doctor. And they kind of get put through this ringer of specialist after specialist and really don't get no answers. And they're wondering why. And yeah, it's great because people then usually come to us and they say, oftentimes, I've been everywhere. I've tried everything. And they don't know what's wrong with me. And as Dr. Tom O'Brien always says, great. That means you don't have a disease. Because if you went to these, top places, they probably would have found a disease. What you have is dysfunction. And what you're saying and what FDN teaches is how to look at dysfunction within the body, and then how we can coach up, that vital reserve or the health within the body, while coaching down and identifying those hidden stressors that are attacking and causing inflammation within the body. And Dr. Alicia Fasano, I kind of came up with my own concept of this from him. And it's pretty much, you have autoimmune conditions, and my words got cut off here when I print this out, but you'd have genetics, you'd have environmental factors, and you'd have leaky gut down here. And all three of those can independently trigger autoimmune, or codependently work together synergistically to also create autoimmune conditions. And something that we see as an epidemic of today. And then just being able to become, cognizant of what's going on with what exactly is on the other end of that fork before we stick it into our mouth, it can have a consequence to it. And so I just think that we need to, become self-educators once again and figure out, are what we eating or what we doing in our everyday life contributing to our health, or causing harm to our health?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's kind of like with, I see all these memes on the internet. With every bite, we're either fueling disease or fighting it or whatever. And, I always, I haven't, I feel kind of bummed I didn't get to be your mentor, but, certainly I've done my fair share of mentoring in the FDN community. And what I used to, teach all my students is, disease begins with dysfunction, right? It's not like you just wake up one day and all of a sudden you have some chronic disease, just like you don't wake up one day and all of a sudden, oh gosh, I gained 100 pounds overnight. It accumulates over time as that dysfunction starts becoming more and more rampant, right? And so this is where, with the FDN methodology, we really look at environment and lifestyle. That's our first line of defense. That's the first intervention that we need to apply through a holistic coaching model of, well, let's change your environment. Let's work on the lifestyle, the behavior modification. We can use supplements to some degree to fight these specific hidden stressors. But certainly, to your point, healthcare our healthcare system is still really trying to treat the world with drugs and surgery. And it's like, well, this is really an environmental and lifestyle driven epidemic. So it kind of just makes sense that maybe lifestyle and environment should be that first line of defense, as we love to empower our clients to be able to do.
Right, absolutely. I'll be transparent with you guys. The last 2 days, I don't know if I came down with the flu, but it was something nasty, and I was bedridden the last 2 days. And so I drank lots of water. I stayed hydrated. I didn't really eat because I wanted all the energy to not be so focused on digesting food, but more so repairing and boosting my immune system to help bring balance to my body. And, today I feel great. And just to kind of showcase, maybe it could be the crazy Texas weather, because last Friday we had some thunderstorms and then tornado sirens. Saturday morning, I woke up to snow, and then now it's like 75 degrees outside. So who knows if that was a part of the triggers that helped cause it. But, in that time I had off, I read Dr. Tom O'Brien's book, You Can Fix Your Brain. And that's a great book. And in that book, what really echoed throughout my mind the whole time is the DRESS for Health Success program. Diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and then targeted supplementation.
Mhm.
And then we use our foundational approach with advanced functional lab testing to help kind of identify these hidden areas where we need to kind of rebuild health and to help people restore function back into their body. And so oftentimes, people, we can kind of get lost in the minutia of symptoms. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, we're all human, and oftentimes people are going to come to you. I've got cold hands, I've got poor body temperature regulation, I can't maintain weight, I can't really lose it, but I've gained 10 pounds, and I've always got headaches, I've got chronic fatigue, mood swings, and almost all the times you think automatically thyroid issue. But really, what is the cause that's driving the thyroid to act out of order in the way it is? Is it something with the HPA axis? Is there some type of chemical toxicity? And chemical toxicity can come from anything, from the deodorant that we put on underneath our arms that has aluminum in it, to all the phthalates or the bisphenol A in the plastic water bottles we're drinking. There's so many endocrine disruptors that are out there that's actually become recognized. I think what we need to do is help people, because I think people really know that they need to diet right. I hate using the word diet, but they need to eat right, and that they need to exercise. But I'm seeing a lot of people where they're plateauing at, they are eating right and they are exercising, and still nothing's changing. And it's like, well, we got to keep digging upstream to find out that root cause as to why is this going on.
Absolutely. It is looking for those root cause hidden stressors, which are really etiological factors, or, etiological simply refer, for those listening, I don't want to be like jargony or anything, but, what are the contributing factors that are promoting the pathophysiology or the progression of disease? So, a good example to make this really tangible, to have it really hit people so they understand, I think gastroenterology is the most evident example where, okay, you've got some tummy issues, just like most Americans, and you go see a gastroenterologist. And if they feel the need to, they'll scope you. They'll do a colonoscopy. They'll stick. We don't need to go in there. But the point being, they're looking for the damage to the tissue so that they can diagnose some kind of colitis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of colon or bowel inflammation, or irritable bowel syndrome. I've always felt that's such a vague and unhelpful diagnosis. Your intestines are irritable. I didn't know that my intestines had human emotion. Now, if they're inflamed, that makes sense. But then I kind of want to know, but doctor, why are they inflamed?
Right.
But gastroenterologists are not really looking for the etiological root cause factors of what's causing the inflammation. So, like with pseudomembranous colitis, which is just a form of colon inflammation, well, you could get diagnosed with pseudomembranous colitis, but what causes that? Well, usually it's a Clostridia infection, aka a Clostridia overgrowth that has been going on for a long time, and this bad bug has been left unchecked without the proper intervention. And ultimately then, so the point being, why are we waiting for the disease state to manifest? Why are we waiting until your colon is on fire and you're bleeding out your rectum, when we could have looked for that hidden stressor, a long time ago? And ultimately, I kind of think, well, the greatest medicine of all is teach people how not to need it, and the best medicine is really the preventative. We could have avoided all of this. Well, so, anyways, now I'm just getting a little soapboxy over here, but I get fired up about this stuff.
Oh man, I love it. And to wrap my point back up with yours is, um, I guess whenever you're looking at people that have, especially like Alzheimer's, and I was talking
Yeah.
about people kind of are aware they need to diet correctly and exercise rightly, but Alzheimer's is like a progressive, disease that really doesn't get its name until you're diagnosed with it, because you've already gone so far down that spectrum that now, hey, it's not, I wouldn't say too late, but it makes it that much more difficult to actually reverse and help.
Yeah.
And going back to, the symptom treating, and really to take a step back and, like I was saying, let's address why that dysfunction is there. Just the word gastritis, inflammation in the gastrointestinal tract. Like, okay, that doesn't tell us a lot. You're just telling me that it's inflamed, but why? And then understanding why the leaky gut, or you're at least somewhere down there inflamed, what else is that going to cascade, beyond the realm of just my stomach? Are things going to be able to get into my bloodstream, like lipopolysaccharides? And then those can go through the blood-brain barrier into the brain. Even if it gets so severe, it can cause sepsis. It's like, so we got to keep these things in check, especially these bacterial overgrowths that, we see running rampant. And they can be far removed from the actual symptom that's presenting itself,
Right.
and it's just kind of insane. And one of my other big areas that I've really kind of been interested in alongside of this is mindset, just having an overall positive attitude. And yeah, that is a whole new world of how a person can truly benefit and kind of expedite their healing process with just their outlook on life, and the feelings they create or the emotions they trigger, looking at cues and triggers and behaviors and habits, and how to become more recognized of the thoughts and the intentions and the purposes that they have for themselves, where their future is with their disease or without their disease, but whatever. I think that can really be an integral part of a person's healing process, is their mindset.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm glad you brought that up. I just got done recording a podcast with one of my naturopath friends, and we started by talking about more of the metabolic science, and then very quickly went into long conversation about mindset, purpose, spirituality to some degree. But the point being, I think that's what really separates FDN practitioners from functional medicine practitioners. Being a guy that I'm privileged, and I get to go to a lot of these big functional medicine conferences and teach them and interact with them. What I really find is I still feel that even functional medicine is still a little bit too reactive and at times allopathic feeling. Sometimes it kind of feels like, okay, so you guys are running functional labs instead of conventional labs and treating the functional lab with supplements rather than treating the conventional lab with medications. But is that still like holistic, individualized preventative medicine? Now, don't get me wrong, we need all the above. We need general health coaches, we need medical doctors, naturopaths, functional medicine. But my point being, if we this is what I call kind of the healthcare spectrum. If we have reactive medicine with drugs and surgery, that ultimate safety net, I wouldn't be alive without that ultimate safety net myself. But then on the other side of the spectrum, we have generic health coaching. So kind of the, personal training, nutrition coaching, hey, I'm going to encourage you to eat more veggies and get more sleep. Okay, well, that's great too. But the point being, it creates this huge gap. And what makes the FDN methodology so special is we bridge that gap. We own that gap where we really focus on the whole person, and we can really hold their hand from, we'll take you past the generic stuff and build an individualized program that's based on the objective data of functional lab testing. And we can really guide you all the way to empowering you so that when you go to your medical doctor, you can have an intelligent conversation that pertains to your healthcare. I just ran some functional lab testing on my grandma who was diagnosed with Parkinson's a decade ago. And, through my own research, through my own work as a professional, there is a huge correlation, direct causation. I have the research, don't hate me. But, with mold toxicity and neurodegenerative disease. And, so I tested her, and sure enough, she had mold toxicity, she had fungal overgrowth, she had Clostridia overgrowth. And it's like, look, I'm not saying that the Parkinson's can necessarily be reversed. What I'm saying is these are etiological factors, root cause hidden stressors that are very directly contributing to the progression of the neurodegenerative disease. And so again, it's all about, we're trying to really empower clients proactively through an educated model so that they can become their own empowered self-healer.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you on that. And that reminds me of kind of why I came to FDN in the first place. I was running kind of in circles, chasing myself, really trying to figure out how to fix my wife. I'm 34, she's 33. And after the birth of our second son 5 years ago, her health just rapidly declined, and we couldn't figure out why. And we're like, what in the world is going on? She's so young, and there's really no reason that she should be declining this quickly. Like, what is going on? And, all of the normal biomarkers on blood tests, the conventional doctors like, yeah, everything's normal. It must be all in your head. And I've never really been told that myself per se, but to hear that be told to like a close loved one, your spouse,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, wait, what? There's no way. Like, I know my wife better than you do, doctor. There's no way it's all in her head because I see her every single day. I can see her energy and her fatigue and just almost like comatose, like lethargic.
Hmm.
It's just such a battle to get out of bed and to homeschool our two boys, to take care of them. I'm away off at work, so it's kind of like hard for me to always be there to help her. But like she really needed some help back in the day. And then come to find out it was because she had 8 dental amalgams or silver fillings. She had 3 cavitations in her jawline, and then we were living in a house riddled by black mold, and we didn't know it. We'd been in there for 8 years, and that stuff was just growing behind and you know, in Texas, the humidity down here, man, it's insane.
Hmm.
And yeah, just lo and behold, we hired a mold expert out of Dallas who came in and he was like, guys, you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And so we're like, oh man, what do we do? But you know, it's like, well, the greatest wealth is health, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's really nothing that's going to stop me from. I'd rather be in debt $100,000, but living in pristine health,
Yeah.
than have all the money in the world and like a crappy lifestyle that's just poor health and I'm overweight, or you know, I just got major problems. And so whenever you at first came out with that course, I saw that you displayed at the conference, mold, microbes, and methylation. I was like, that's right up my alley, man, because that's what I was dealing with my wife. You know, poor
Yeah.
methylation. She had just a congestive liver. She had you know, the mycotoxins that were just breathing in on a daily basis. Now we got air doctors and HEPA filters or whatever just all around in the bedroom because we're living in a temporary residence. But yeah, we've been detoxifying her and changing and like course correcting, kind of like what
Mm.
Reed talks about. You don't power boat
Yeah.
your way to the coast. You kind of sailboat
Salem.
and
Yeah.
zigzag because you got to make some corrections along the way. And so we've had to do that, you know, and it's been a year now. We went to an IAOMT dentist and they properly removed the silver fillings. You know, my wife was dressed up in a hazmat suit. And actually, the dentist that did her work was the same dentist that was on that documentary, The Root Cause, Dr.
Oh,
Lane
yeah.
Freeman. So we
Mm.
reached out to her, and Marble Falls really isn't but like 3 hours from us. So we drove down there for 3 days and had all the work done. And she got some intravenous vitamin C, some
Mhm.
glutathione, and we put her on a chelation therapy protocol. And yet, from looking at her today, just from a year, now you got to remember, we spent what? She's 33, so we probably spent, and this is where I love about what we do as FDN and how we approach people is we want to look at, you know, prenatal with the person. You know, were you born cesarean? Were you born vaginal? What was your mom's health like when you were in her womb, in utero? You
Mhm.
know, because a lot of that stuff that's in the mother can cross over into the placental barrier and right into the baby that's developing, and then you know the baby comes out with an underdeveloped immune, and they've already got all this harder work and they get vaccinated. I'm not saying that people should or should not. I'm just telling people that they need to do the research and you know, rounds of antibiotics because of cesarean birth, and then ear infections, streptococcus, you know, the strep throats, and it's just boom, 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 one route to the other. Then I start thinking about this. I'm like, man, you've probably done 25 years of damage to yourself. We've only been living clean for 5 years. It's probably going to take a little bit longer to fully rebuild your gut, fully rebuild the function to your HPA and just everywhere else. To thing is like actually finally restored. And it's a work in progress. It's a journey. And that's what creates an actual transformation. You know,
Mhm.
change in little small habits along the way leads to lifestyle transformation. You can't do it all overnight. And I know a lot of people just get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that mindset approach of helping people understand that, like you said, no one just wakes up all of a sudden day with atherosclerosis or, you know, well, I mean, they might, but there was events that led up to that point to where they woke up or
Right.
got that diagnosis, you know? And so
Mhm.
it takes a lot, and it takes a lot of investigating and a lot of research. And that's kind of where my passion spawned. So I'm so happy
Mhm.
to be here.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing all that. I loved hearing a bit about your story, and ultimately, that's what I love about our FDN community is like basically every single person in the community, we have a similar story. You know, we had some kind of health crisis, either ourselves or a loved one or both. You know, and a lot of us did feel a little let down, shall we say, with conventional healthcare, and you know, we didn't accept that. Why accept? Why accept that sentence of, well, you might feel horrible, you might feel like death, but there's nothing wrong with you. No, that's unacceptable. So then we do our own homework. We're very empathetic, knowledge hungry individuals, very evidence based. You know, what's the evidence say? And to your point, you mentioned something kind of beautiful there, where you know, the FDN practitioner, the FDN health coach, we take that journey, because it is a journey, like you said. It's not, and that's the thing. Like, for example, you know, with all my clients, when I'm onboarding a new client, let's say in my gut program, I let them know, like, gut health is a lifestyle, not a protocol. And so that's where I even think that, again, kind of this functional medicine paradigm, I think at times can be a little misleading, because it's this idea of like, oh, you've been failed by conventional medicine, so now let's just run a bunch of functional tests. We'll identify the root cause, treat that for 3 to 6 months, and then poof, all of a sudden you're superhuman. And it's like, no, that's not really at all how it works. It actually is a step-by-step journey. Like you said, it's like sailing, which I grew up sailing, so I love the analogy. Because, yeah, you can't powerboat to health. There's no shortcut. You've got to show up every day. You've got to put in the work, but you have to guide that process with objective data. And so that's the beauty of our methodology, is we're tracking the subjective data, like their health complaints and symptomology, that we have them score numerically. So we track that to make sure our symptoms going down. Good. But also at the same time, we objectively measure. We use the lab test, retest, to make sure that we're moving in the right direction. And then, like you said, we have to course correct along the way. So, you know, Chris, I know, you know, you're a new graduate and you powered through the FDN program. It's been a minute since I've seen a trainee with your tenacity, your discipline, your enthusiasm. So I think the sky's the limit for you. I couldn't be more excited that you're in our community doing this work, and I have a lot of respect for you. So I'm just excited to see where you go.
I really appreciate those words, man. I did work my butt off to get through that course, and the reason was because I wanted to hurry up and get out so I could start getting clients and helping people, and, you know, getting a return on the investment.
Yeah.
And I think the real big kicker for me with FDN, because I've had my eyes on FDN, I think it was Wendy Myers. I saw the initials FDNP, and I was like, what is that? Because the first health coaching program I joined was Mark Sisson's Primal Health Coaching. And I don't have anything but respect for these other programs, because they all kind of have a similar approach to what we do. But I think functional diagnostic nutrition, I mean, surpasses them all. And of course, I'm going to be biased, but I truly believe so. Just because of the fact, I mean, you're getting like advanced biochemistry, you're getting advanced anatomy and physiology, and it's just enough. So when you get out of the course, you want to hop right into the advanced courses and keep learning. And I mean, for me, dude, I'm telling you, I'm a nerd and I'm a geek. So I go out and I'll buy these textbooks and I literally try to figure out more. I'm like, all right, that was a great teaser in the course. I want to learn more about why this can happen. So I'll go out and buy these textbooks and just continue reading. And I was fortunate enough to where I was in a current position where my job was just driving. So, dude, I just had my phone on a little thing right up here by my dash, and I had my earbuds in, and I just drove around listening to the modules over and over and over. So when I got home, it made it that much more cemented inside of me. So whenever I took notes, I mean, I was able to flow right through it. And I did have to take a couple of breaks at some time to make sure that what I was listening to and what I was studying, I was actually retaining. That's a complete different concept, because, I mean, you can speed through something, but if you're not going to take the knowledge you're obtaining and applying it into action, I mean, you're just kind of doing a disservice to yourself and everybody else. And it was the advanced functional lab testing that really, I think, was not really what sold me, but what helped me get the answers that I was looking for, because there was so many times you chase symptoms. It's just it. And, you know, you have to start somewhere, and you don't know really where to start. And the only thing I knew was from Hippocrates, you know, all disease begins in the gut, or all health is in the gut, something like that. And it's like, when in doubt, check the gut. So that was like the first thing I was always doing with my wife was, let's check the gut, you know, and when you're seeing, I swear, go to Half Price Books or just type in on Google or Amazon And there's so many different diet books. It's unbelievable. You can get lost in them, and it becomes overwhelming, especially for a person who doesn't know what diet is right for them, which is kind of why I think the metabolic typing diet is pretty cool. It helps a person based on their physiology, but going back to the lab testing, I think is crucial, because with the medical director program, I mean, we have so much to offer and to have access to, and the clinical training that comes along with it. And I mean, there's just so much at our disposal that we can utilize to help a person, to really teach them how to heal themselves. You know, like you said, we don't necessarily treat or diagnose or treat paper or anything like that. We're treating the person as a whole. So we want to look at what's kind of out of order and piece by piece put things back in order. And I think that's what makes the health coach through the FDN model a more complete role. And that diet and nutrition, very important, you know, but that's just one piece of the overall puzzle. We got to stick in like real lifestyle behaviors. Are you sedentary? I didn't realize this, but that's biomechanical stress from sitting all day, whether it's driving or whether it's at an office, and you're creating inflammation if you're not getting up and moving. And I really didn't realize that, you know, and that right there can lead to low grade chronic inflammation. And so we have to stay moving. If you want to die faster, you know, eat a lot of sugar, and stay sedentary. That's pretty simple if you want to die fast. But if you want to live happy and longer, you have to, you know, do some work. You can't just be a lazy bum and sit around all day and expect good health. It just doesn't happen like that, you know, because if it were that easy, we'd all be doing it, but it's not.
Yeah, it's an honest process, and ultimately, you know, the mission of FDN, what we really stand for, is to teach people how to get well and stay well naturally, so that they in turn can pass that along and pass that knowledge along. And you know, together we have that. So that's the thing. Our power is in our community, and so as you said, and we'll start wrapping up, where you know there is a lot of information, and nobody can know everything about the human body. Believe me, I'm trying, and the human body is gosh darn complex, and there's a lot to it. And so that's the power of our community, you know, with our AFDNP tribe, where you know, we can ask questions to our peers, and everybody has their specialty, their background, their history, their realm of expertise. So we all help lift each other up. We all help each other through cases. And you mentioned the medical director program. I'm glad you did, because certainly it can be very overwhelming and intimidating for a lot of new graduates, of just like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. But it's like, well, if you can reproduce the system that we trained you inside and out, and then utilizing the medical director program, where you can meet with somebody like me, a clinical advisor, where we can advise you on your case and whatnot. So we just have so many avenues for support, ongoing education with our webinar series or our advanced courses, so on and so forth. So we really are, you know, you said it, but kind of the ultimate health coach. So it's really a beautiful thing, and I'm very excited to watch your career blossom. I think you've got a ton of potential. So with that, let me real quick to the audience, thank you guys for watching, and be sure, if you didn't already, put test into the chat box, and you can get a 3-step guide to real results. Certainly, if you want to learn more about the FDN community and curriculum, you can even set up an appointment with a course counselor. You know, we don't want anybody just stumbling into this. We want to make sure it's the right fit for you. If you're looking for a career change, or maybe you or a loved one is suffering and not getting answers elsewhere, we'd love to chat with you and see, is this the right fit for you? But it's a beautiful, I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. But Chris, thank you so much for joining me. And before we go, if somebody wants to get a hold of you to get your professional help, how can they get in contact with you?
I have my website. I'm just went back to the process of redoing it, but it'll be up and running shortly. Upstreamvitality.com. And then I'm pretty active in my Facebook page. It's Chris Wilson at Upstream Vitality, or facebook.com/Upstream Vitality. You can reach me there too. And yeah, I try to stay as active as possible. That's probably one of the key things. There's a book out there called Blue Ocean Strategy, and you know, that's again what I really love about functional diagnostic nutrition is I think our methodology and the philosophy we have as health coaches really puts us into this blue ocean that's, away from the saturated market of health coaches. And that's where I think a lot of the other, no disrespect to their platforms, but a lot of the other programs that offer health coaching certifications kind of do people a disservice, because people think health coach and they don't really know what they're getting, honestly, with these other programs. And I think some of them are equipping people just enough to be dangerous, but not in a good way, more so in like a bad way where they can't actually help people, or they don't understand. A lot of the science. I mean, we do have to sometimes understand a lot of the science and a lot of the biochemistry that goes on within our body and our physiology, and how things from the outside can affect things on the inside. Maybe not. I don't know. That's how I'm wired. I really think that's kind of where we're at. But yeah, man, it's a whole kind of triad of health here, with the leaky gut and autoimmune and environmental factors and genetics. I mean, our genetics, they don't determine our destiny. That's the old scientific dogma. It's you and me who are in control of our future, of where we want to lead. But yeah, long-winded answer, my friend. Upstreamvitality.com is where you can find me.
Love it. So everybody be sure to check that out. Chris is now open for business, ready to take on the world. So honestly, again, very privileged to know you, very proud of you, excited to see where you can go, and very happy to have you a part of my AFDNP tribe, because together we really are going to have a big impact on the world. So thank you, my brother.
Hey, thank you. And I'll share an African proverb once said that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Yes, I love that one. Good way to end. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next week for another Real Result Show. Chris, have a wonderful day, my friend.
Thanks, Brendan. I really appreciate you inviting me on here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.